Hello and welcome to Question and Answer Time. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by fellow Dudley boy Michael Hamflett to discuss all of your burning wrestling questions. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, pay-per-views, premium live events. We hold roundtable discussions on occasion. We answer your wrestling questions in Wrestling Questions Answer Time. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, and we host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WhatCulture. Hamflett, how are we doing?
Buzzing.
Why?
You know what, Sid? I have no motive to lie to you. All the viewers, all the listeners. I'm just glad to get to the end of another week of pro wrestling where I am not moved by it much at the moment. I am...
Dynamite 300 was awesome.
Stop this. I'm so excited for All In, but it's in the wrong way from a TV point of view. I want it now. They've done too good a job, if anything. Listen to me, talking like you. Like, they've done too good a job.
What is this, a 1980s body swap movie?
They've done too good a job, if anything, of the promotion of the stuff.
I don't think that would sell much tickets. We got a wacky concept for a movie. Okay, it's a body swap comedy. Okay, a bit retro. I'm listening, though. I'm still listening. You've got one 40-year-old white British podcaster going into the body of another 40-year-old white British podcaster.
Check this out. They both got 2 kids. Very similar ages and tastes and hobbies and interests. And guess what? They work at the same place. How's that going to work? One of them takes the metro. The other takes the regular train.
What wacky adventures will he get up to?
These podcasts I've come to really love because, and that's why I'm buzzing, because at the moment I am having, I think, in the history of the time that we've been privileged to do this job, my first ever, Sidge, can I shock you? I don't think wrestling TV is working that well. Like a hot take. I don't know if you've ever considered this.
No.
Sometimes the weekly episodic model isn't best suited to one's enjoyment.
Yes.
And I am experiencing that. Maybe across the board now, for the first time since we've had this job, there has always been typically one show. We're down to Raw. And a wider lack of faith in WWE has me worried that Raw will be the next to fall off. SmackDown goes back to 2 hours this week. Maybe that'll help.
So I'm still confused about the buzzing part. It sounds like you have.
I like doing this.
Sounds all right. It kind of sounds like you're having an existential crisis.
I totally am. Yeah, a existential crisis. Like, yeah, I am with wrestling in general. But I like this because I find that when we come out of the studio, having recorded these, the questions have got the creative juices flowing. Yeah. And I've realized we've done like some fantasy booking or we've like volleyed some ideas back and forth. And the TV is failing to make me do that.
Okay.
Much.
Right.
This All In cut, it's like...
It's awesome.
It's awesome.
Keep it like it is.
Yeah. And like...
Maybe add the tag that they're doing because they've built it on TV and that's like it. That's all.
You know those WWE bills we used to hate? Like, premise establishment, see you in 2 months.
Yeah.
This is like the best ever version of that. Like everything from the beginning, they're lined up. That's class. That's class. And then 6 weeks, I tell you. Can we just?
I think the plotting and the twisting has been very, very good indeed.
Get to Texas.
Well, we'll get to Panda Blair first before we get to Texas because he comes through with the very first question today. Again, thank you very much for submitting your questions. Again, we can't get to all of them, and we get a lot on X throughout the week, so we like to do this podcast as a way to engage with you all. Keep submitting them, and if you want to get involved, sadly, you do have to sign up for X come Twitter.
Or Cameo Corner, with which I will offer a question from later on.
Ow.
Nice. It's good stuff.
Down. Word up. Everybody say a real benefit in the AEW.
That's it. That's the Cameo Corner.
Cameo Corner.
That's the Cameo Corner jingle. There is one question.
Don't out for love.
Which you can get me on Cameo Sidge one day. God, he's going to be worth the money. But yes, if you're not on X currently, my Cameo DMs, as Travis has discovered, he's going to fire in with a question later on in our Cameo Corner. It's the code question.
What?
I don't know. I was thinking cold word, but I had nothing to replace.
All right, okay. Word up. Adam Wilton 4, he asks, who would you book against Tanahashi at Forbidden Door?
That nearly went so well. You were one syllable off there. That was so good.
I was so close, bro. Adam Blair, who always takes care of the data on Ladies' Night, asks, who would you book against Tanahashi at Forbidden Door? Kota, Okada, Omega, or someone else? For me, I would have him simply, if he must do anything, and I think he should, his last ever show. Has he not already said that he's done his last ever one in the UK? I don't know. Maybe I should have researched this. If he's going to break that promise that I might have just made up in my head, and I don't think anyone would begrudge him. It's Hiroshi Tanahashi, for Christ's sake. Just the pop alone, the entrance alone.
It will be his last one. He stated that Forbidden Door in August 24th will be his last UK show.
So you might want to say a proper formal goodbye to Hiroshi Tanahashi, but my God, this guy's on my Mount Rushmore, and I never want to see him wrestle again. He has got knees that it looks like it pains him to run the ropes. He even does did a funny bit out of it where he was like, I can't remember who he was against, but they did this elaborate sequence where the guy who he was running the ropes and the guy kept evading him. So he's like, I've got to keep doing that dumb wrestling logic. I've got to keep running, even though I could just stop and retire right now on the spot. I would have him, and I would do this in the semi-main slot because I think it would correct two issues at the same time. I know this isn't particularly inspiring, but I think the idea of a dream match, even one with a lot of latitude extended to it, simply isn't viable at all. I would have him in the semi-main slot of Forbidden Door.
I bet we've got the same.
In the semi-main event slot of Forbidden Door. So you've had this onslaught of great, long match, back and forth action. You could do with a little bit of levity, something comedic, like a little shot to keep the party going, right? I would have him answer Max Caster's open challenge.
Oh, that's excellent.
Just Max Caster comes out, takes a big old dump on New Japan and CMLL and saying, I'm the best wrestler alive. I'm better than anyone from Rev Pro in the United Kingdom. I'm better than anyone from CMLL in Mexico. And I'm much better than even the biggest legends in New Japan Pro Wrestling history. And then Tanahashi comes out, kicks his ass in 2 minutes, and that's it. You get a nice, oh, God, I didn't think we were going to get Tana because he wasn't announced for the card because obviously it's an open challenge. And you hope beyond hope that you get your little Tana moment. You get it. You get that, refreshing splash of water in your face, ready for that main event.
We don't have the same answer, but I think that's a far better one than mine. Considering the checkered history of the defense of this title at Forbidden Door over the years, and often how it's the extent to which it's been pushed into the background is damning on New Japan, and to a lesser extent AEW's investment really in the Forbidden Door concept. Zack Sabre Jr. And they keep it tight and not bump free, but relatively bump free for Tana. And it's all about when the reasons those knees are knocking together is because Zack's been twisting them and pretzeling them up for 10 minutes in front of a crowd that he can...
Eight max.
A crowd that he can simultaneously babyface and heel in front of, pending the needs of the match, ultimately. It's the IWGP Championship. It's this idea that the people at Forbidden Door are getting some history. Tana's getting a run at it, but it's in Zack's country, and he loses, but he loses honorably, and it's all handshakes and hugs at the end.
Yeah, it seems like a good practical idea in that I think Tanahashi and Sabre Jr. have actually worked together during this Tana retirement run, and the basis being you don't really have to bump when you're working with ZSJ. You can get loads out of doing quite little. So I feel like if they're going to try and get an actual match out of Tanahashi, but then again, Zack Sabre Jr. is now the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, so that complicates things.
Didn't they do Evil and Jungle Boy? Have I misremembered that at a Forbidden Door one year?
No, Sonata and Jack Perry, 3-star.
So that belt hasn't exactly found itself in the top spot. That would be a bigger and nicer moment.
Oh Christ! There's no fabled legacy. Yeah. There's no rich history of IWGP Heavyweight title. In fact, they've done 2 Forbidden Doors. Or 3?
3.
So they had 2002, 2003, 2004. Yeah. I can't remember what the 2004 match was. Oh, I do actually. Oh my God, this legacy sucks ass.
It's time to play the game! Time to play game.
What is the borderline disastrous legacy of IWGP heavyweight title matches at Forbidden Dough?
Rich history, 4-way, legit injury to
Adam Cole.
While Jay White won it or retained it in a very awkward situation because Cole was down and out. That had...
The match was like a flat 4 at best before.
Who was in that? Other than...
It was Okada, Hangman, Cole, and Jay.
I thought Hangman was in it.
So I remember thinking, they've messed... I mean, on the night, everything else was amazing, but I remember thinking, just give us Hangman Okada. Hangman could do a job to Okada, for Christ's sake.
Because they tried to build it on TV like a TV story, didn't they? 2024.
Didn't even need the IW. I can't remember who the champion was at the time. But,
no, that's where I'm struggling.
I just wanted Okada, Hangman, with or without the belt.
God, you'll have to tell me. So
that was 2022.
Yeah.
2023 was Jack Perry, Sonata. 2024
turned heel that night, didn't he?
Aye,
and he lost. Yeah,
in a really grim match.
Champion. I can't remember. So
there was a title change.
Yeah.
This match was like, Jesus Christ. We're live on pay-per-view, pal, and it's a title match and you're winning the belt. You don't want to show up.
What was the main event of last year's Forbidden Dough?
It was Swerve Ospreay, wasn't it?
Oh, God, right. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, I'll put you out of your misery because we've got lots of questions to get to and not the most amount of time we've ever had. It was Jon Moxley versus Tetsuya Naito.
Oh,
God. And it stunk ass.
Yeah.
Poor. Anyway, let's try and drift away from that awful memory by answering a question from Stilken. Stilken. Everyone knows that. Where would you guys rank AJ Styles on an all-time list? I know you don't like him nowadays. I don't like him much. He would be top 3 for me if his WrestleMania catalog was not that bad. Top 10 for sure. It's one of those where when he finally hangs them up and you are able to, like, something happens when a wrestler does this, where you kind of wash away the stink of their career, and wrestling fans are mostly nice on occasion and will celebrate it. Like, his best moments will fly around on social media and on Reddit, etc., and you'll recall just how much of a literal phenomenon he was in the ring between the ropes. For me, if there's a tier of actual all-time greats, and I'm talking purely in-ring, because as fun as AJ can sometimes be, even like in a way that's oblivious to himself, is an all-rounder, that Brett criteria of in-ring presence, look, promo, he's very high in one category and, fair in the others. In terms of pure in-ring, if we're going big match classics, innovation, stylistic legacy, like all the things that come with being known as an all-time, like how well your work ages, even then, I don't rate AJ Styles as an all-time great. I will say that I've obviously watched what I've been told and saw out his best TNA work, and some of it's unbelievable. And he has that thing where he would do stuff on Impact where, no one's going to remember it in like great match threads or posts, but in terms of pure individual performances, like out of this world, brain melting, futuristic stuff. What goes against AJ is that he hasn't learned, and maybe it's the WWE system or whatever, but Cody's cracked it. He cannot elicit much in the way of emotion as a guy after his physical prime. There's something so emotionally flat and forgettable about the latter day AJ Styles match, where before he was totally permo-crocked, Tanahashi, when he was on the way out physically, was able to just get the pathos of that across in his ring. Kenny with the diverticulitis, and even before that, when he was not what he was in 2017, is still able to add those dramatic layers to his matches. You see it with Okada to this day. Old Man Funk, Old Man Flair. There's a litany of examples of wrestlers who are able to work smarter when they can no longer go as hard. And there's nothing really smart about AJ's work. Like, he's never pulled me in emotionally in 6 years or something in WWE. I think this is his inability to do graceful, old man, elegant, crafted, emotional wrestling, like, is really done damage to his legacy as an in-ring great. But you are more familiar with TNA. Was it so great that he's still in the conversation for you in ring?
Yes, it was. It left something with you.
Sorry, just to step on your dick momentarily. I know you've barely stopped talking. There must be a reason why Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega are like enthralled, like they worship this dude.
This is it. Like I was going to get to that point. There are a lot of that's all right. There's a lot of ways and criteria with which to judge, and the pendulum, personally for me, swings on AJ Styles quite a lot depending on what he's doing at that moment. Like, when you said there, like, was he really like left in WWE? I'm thinking Cody Rhodes at Backlash and Brock Lesnar at the Survivor Series 2017. But 2 matches across such a long amount of time is not enough, really, right? As good as they were, it's not enough. However, that 2002 to about 2007 period probably is still understated. His level of excellence probably goes understated in terms of, if we were watching him now, you would be talking about a Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
You know, like Will Ospreay is like, if there was more conversation about wrestling that escaped forums, you know, there's probably 1 or 2 radio shows. There was the odd like video that would have been made that you would have had to wait hours to download, whatever. Yeah. But if we had like a podcasting network, that the way that wrestling is covered now, AJ Styles then would be spoken of as Will Ospreay is now.
Yeah.
Like, in some circles, irrefutably the best. Kenny Omega prior to that in New Japan. I think you were experiencing a version of that in the mid-2010s when AJ had his excellent and well-received New Japan run.
It was incredible.
That was critically acclaimed in a way where there was more wrestling critique. And finally it was like, but I think there was an element of surprise in the tone, wasn't there? It was like, we didn't think he still had that dog in him, because the back end of his TNA run was a guy very clearly like lacking motivation, because I'm not saying everything. He lived that TNA life. Yeah. There was always the idea of, well, he's never going to WWE, so is this it? Like, and then the New Japan run, I think, was more of it was so joyous to see him succeed, but I think it was with this almost like, I didn't think you still had this in you, mate, and you've completely like reframed what I think of you as a wrestler. That point you make about Ospreay and Omega, I think is where he does rank higher for me. The Motor City Machine Guns got given that lovely tag when they came to WWE of your favorite tag team's favorite tag team, and like, you could look at the Young Bucks and say, well, did the Young Bucks really happen without the Motor City Machine Guns? And I think wrestling as we know it, for better and worse, was shaped by AJ Styles. That's an enormous...
there's so many clones of his.
Legacy. Yeah,
there are like self-professed clones of AJ Styles. I'll say one more thing. You can add more if you want as well about AJ Styles. I'm struggling at the top of my head. Yes, Omega's been like when he's tapping on Ishii's head, so he's probably the best. He always is. But if I'm WWE, and there's sort of an issue where, because work rate and great matches are sold as this thing that it's just sort of like you almost have to a level, have great matches now in wrestling, or bangers, and people are demons cooking and all this bollocks. There's the issue of, if you're Baron Corbin, you can't get over because you're too boring. But also on the other side of that thing is, if you're Wes Lee, you're too kind of exciting to play a heel. Yeah. If I'm showing anyone tape of how to be a dickhead heel who's athletically, extravagantly, incredibly gifted, I'm showing them either the Omega Ishii G1 match where he's playing his head like a bongo, or I'm showing them AJ Styles versus Minoru Suzuki.
Yeah.
From, I think it was the 2014 or 15 G1 climax, where he's just a little prick and he's like such a scampering, scared git. Mm-hmm. But he, like, AJ Styles is this sort of lung-bursting heel performance. It's out 90s Sean to a degree. It's unbelievable.
That was what was missing from his TNA run. There was a switch. So he was learning to be a heel in promos and vignettes and the like, with like as a Kurt Angle sidekick or a Christian Cage sidekick, and then a bell would ring and he wasn't able to tweak his offense, the Wesley problem,
Yeah.
ultimately. But then you're looking at a guy that was like less than 10 years in, and you
Yeah.
forget this TNA run. He was given the world in TNA, and he was asked to carry the company.
Yeah.
And this was a guy that was like 5 or 6 years deep.
Yeah.
The New Japan run is the version of the guy that's 10, 12 years in.
Yeah.
And you can see him really putting it together. Never in a way, I don't think he was never as good a scamp heel in WWE. We never saw that. I don't think he smoothed his edges because I think he knew what
the assignment was.
He knew what he needed to do.
Yeah. The next question comes from Luke A. And he asks, where is Mali Black? He's not been on TV for the longest time, but from what I understand, he's still with AEW. No, he is still with AEW. I'm sick of this rumor. It's getting beyond a joke now. Yes, he's not on TV all the time. Yes, a lot of his programs end in stipulation matches where he doesn't seem to take many pins. But at the end of the day, I've been told relentlessly from the horse's mouth that the man himself is fit, ready to go, and rumors that he's a political nightmare who won't do business are completely exaggerated. And what I would like you all to do is stop asking me this question. In fact, I clarify his status every single week on
really
Twitter, on X at @msidgwick. All I'm doing is listening for once. We shouldn't be so cynical. Take the example from Reddit here, okay, and take the word of the professional wrestler at face value. There's nothing stupid about doing that. So thank you for your question, but I am starting to get annoyed by it. Please don't keep asking me it, okay? Thank you for the question, but come on now. Do not make me do this every single week.
Just listen to the truth saying,
okay?
Professional wrestlers.
Do not make me do this, right, for as long as the run lasted, which is how long this has sort of followed him around. Yeah. The next question comes from Hector Mendez, and he says, hi, Sidge, big fan from Mexico. I hear you guys all the time. Last night I went to Dynamite 300. It was awesome. I confirm that my current favorite luchador is Bandido. Close second is Hechicero and Titon. Who is your favorite luchador currently other than Dralistico? Hey. I know you're taking the mick here. Thank you very much for your question. Dralistico, I don't know this yet, but Dralistico is like 48 steps ahead of me at this point.
He's far more than yesterday.
Indeed. He is going to be my favorite wrestler in about, not just luchador, but favorite wrestler outright in 3 months. I just don't know it yet. That's how far ahead he is of me. Look, again, I will again profess I'm not completely attuned to the world of Lucha Libre. I don't necessarily follow CMLL all the time. I will watch selected highlights when told, go out of your way to see this. But for me, Bandido, and I don't want to limit him as a luchador because I feel like that is his ceiling in AEW when it shouldn't be. I would love them to truly try. Like, what is this guy's ceiling? I am sure that if I saw him in the building in like a feature proper match, I would lose my mind. This guy's strength, this guy's ability to craft a match, this guy's live show charisma is completely and utterly off the charts. He's one of those wrestlers who, and this is so rare because we're a little bit jaded here. We've watched a lot of wrestling in our shared 80 decades on this planet, Hamflett and I, and we've talked a lot, extensively, probably too much, about banger overexposure and what else you got. Bandido is one of the very select few wrestlers who, when I watch him, I'm just blown away legitimately every single time. So it's Bandido for me. Probably El Grande Americano for him.
Yeah, closer than you should be. Penta, shamelessly, Penta, like...
To such a fed head.
I am, right? I don't really like Lucha Libre, so I'm doing my best here. As a genre, I should point out. And to Sidge's point... It's
a variety of subgenres.
And I'm not...
those Lucha Bloody Brawls, it's one of those things where I don't necessarily like the people on Twitter who put them over so much, but they're incredible when done right.
So I'm not really exposed to that through my myopic diet of North American wrestling, because North American wrestling, for the most part, just relies on trios and relies on tag bangers or the occasional singles push that amounts to very little, or certainly never the Bandido being the perfect example, right? You can be the Ring of Honor champion, but your ceiling is lowered. That's always the case.
Yeah.
Or too often the case. It's been a thrill to watch Penta make this WWE run work. I was going to say I'd given up, but I think so had Penta. I think Penta knowing his lot in AEW allowed him to just sword down and just like, and it's not necessarily even the moves. I was just always a massive Penta guy. Like, just one character that burst out of Lucha Underground that otherwise wasn't really all for me. He was a wrestler that I was quite fortunate enough to see live when the indie boom was happening over here, and he was amazing to watch live.
The look, the presence.
It was like, this guy's 100 foot tall, and then he becomes a TV wrestler through AEW. And we talked about this at length. I just always was itching for him to get more until it was apparent that he wasn't. I kind of gave up. So to see that he's had more this year, and I don't think it's an insincere answer, because I think the stylistic approach remains pleasingly different to a lot of WWE. He is one of the few guys, and I'll use Rhea Ripley as a comparison for somebody that cannot, that when he did come out at Night of Champions, didn't immediately run to the ring, but in fact did his little dance and took his time, made sense. That's sort of Penta. That's not Rhea Ripley doing her stomp on the floor pose before helping the babyface. That's Penta in his way to the ring. And that adds an aura of sort of unpredictability, and he's kind of this idiosyncratic figure. Like, that I am also watching, and again, anecdotally for what it's worth, that I am watching from the day they saw him. My kids connect to him in a way that WWE were chasing that.
So toyetic.
Yeah, they were chasing that with a Rey Mysterio replacement for years, weren't they? And like, I don't know if there's ever a Rey Mysterio replacement, because that undermines the brilliance of a Rey Mysterio and his contributions and his legacy. But is Penta the closest they've come to actually finding what they've been looking for with a Rey Mysterio replacement? I think he is.
Like a marketable, toyetic guy with his own brand of charisma. Yeah. The idea is he's never tried to be the next Rey Mysterio. Yeah. And that was always the problem all along. The next question comes from the Arse, formerly known as Jimmy Blade, one of my favorite Twitter usernames, one of my favorite guys. They're all my favorite guys.
Speaking of people I used to like watching in indie booms in small venues, Jimmy Blade.
Jimmy Blade. Good Day Gentle says, knowing full well you don't do bits, if you were of a persuasion to do bits, would any bits accidentally leak into other aspects of your real lives? And have your wives ever given you the I had options and I chose you look because of it? My wife once told me when she herself was celebrating her success in becoming a doctor of philosophy that I have a PhD in giving her the ick. So...
That's good stuff.
It's good stuff. I have mastered the art of it over the years. The last recent example of her just going, what have I done with the last 15 years of my life, was I was talking to the kids, and I think the house is messy, and bless her, my daughter, my youngest, loves to craft. She's great at it. She's like, she's only 7, but she can make like purses out of cardboard and like put things in it. Yeah. And she's made this like nail salon where she's made like the nails filer, and she makes packages for it. She just goes like card, sellotape, scissors, pens, and she'll entertain herself for hours. That's her thing that she likes. But she makes a massive mess. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh God, every single day I'm putting bits of a rant card into a recycling bin that's overstuffed. And I think I said something like, Jesus Christ, it's Mesky City Jones here. She went, City Jones? She's absolutely repulsed by me. Absolutely repulsed. So this happens quite frequently, yes.
It happens so often that I apologize, Jimmy, for not being able to pull loads of recent examples, but I promise you, when I'm next on Twitter or when one happens, I will write it down and I will note it, because it happens so often as to become like a problem if she was to so choose. She likes watching Stacks. She's not so keen on me, you and Wilborn, but she enjoys watching Stacks' weekly joke fest on the NXT review when Stacks rocks up. So she quite likes that, and as a result, has herself found herself occasionally going, see you later, guys, like, because it bleeds in, right? It bleeds in. But City Jones has definitely happened, and I've had to like try and pull it back to City and make it seem like it's what normal people say. Yeah. She once came out with some like crap patter, and I just went, yeah, it's good stuff.
What else you got?
It's good stuff. And she was like, don't patronize me. And like, I was like, oh yeah, actually, when I realized how that sounds in a human conversation, she's got a point. And I would see this like weathered expression come across her face when via me, this goes back about a year ago now, but every now and then my kids still, it's just stuff goes in, right?
Yeah,
you said became a disease within my household, because it would be things like crossing roads. Come on, quickly across. And then one of them go to the other side. And it's like, it just lives here now, apparently. Like, long after the effing Judgment Day.
The bit is coming from inside the house.
So, yeah, it's all the time. It's a problem. And I think I can comfortable to share this. It is across the desks to the extent of being an epidemic. We have forgotten how to speak as humans. We will walk in the office. I will greet you without a second thought. Like, it was once brother. It has then become a brother because he's corrupted. And now it's barely even, it's a smudge of a word.
Yeah. Sai, she is from the WhatCulture Gaming parish, makes infrequent visits to the Gateshead office. She works remotely to like film content in person alongside some of the other gaming team. And I think she was last here maybe at least 6 to 9 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came in, sat down. I'm like, all right, Si, how's it going? And went, oh, by the way, if you're wondering if we're still talking in like really butchered Italian-American accents, then the answer sadly is yes. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. So, yeah, thank you for your question. The next one.
I saw a van yesterday that had a catchphrase on the back saying, "See you later, kids," and immediately had to text Wilborn and Sidge. Like, Wilborn's passed it on to Stacks, obviously.
Bit tangent.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't do bits or tangents.
No. We do answer questions, though. And this next one comes from Ms. Bunny Girl. She says, if you were going to book a women's, what am I, Scottish from Glasgow? A women's best of 7 series. Who would it be and why? My take is Mercedes versus Athena, winner take all at the end, preferably ending in a ladder cage match. I am completely in agreement with this, and I will tell you why. One, I want to see Mercedes Money in a ladder match. Like, just, she's probably done Money in the Banks before and stuff. I can't really remember, but in AEW where the action's emphasized, like the bumps she would take, the creativity she would, produce in a one-on-one women's ladder match, I'm certain would be incredible. Mm-hmm. And I also agree with the choice of opponent because I vividly remember thinking that my favorite thing about Mercedes Money versus Athena is that it was overflowing with really cool ideas. They just seemed to relish the prospect of working with one another to the point where, like, there was so many cool reversals, so many cool counters, so much joy in, like, doing the threat of dangerous wrestling moves on the apron. I just got the sense watching it. These two are loving working together. They've wanted clearly to do this for a long time. There was a lot of love, passion, creativity, detail. Everything went into that match. If there's any two sets of opponents where I'm like, I need to see that again, and I get the impression that you've loved working together, it's them two. So, yeah, that would be my pick as well for the best of 7. And it would be a nice way to actually, like, it's a bit of a shortcut to make a legacy rivalry, but AEW has, in the women's division, too few of them because they don't get the priority, as we've discussed many times. I would definitely go for that.
To offer, because that is great. So I'll offer a Fed alternative. And again, like Mercedes Athena, it's informed a little bit by recency bias because we have seen plenty of interactions between them, but never a dedicated singles feud that I can remember. Maybe a 1-monther for a PLE, and it was great. Every time, without exception, Bianca Belair and Io Sky touch, there is this
as a crackle,
electricity. And then the deeper into their matches they go, their like physical chemistry and what they bring to the table reveals itself. So Bianca Belair is very clever at almost like disguising her power game until she needs it the most. Yeah. So she could be like, bottom of the 9th. That's spot.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, I didn't factor in that you're actually really strong. You've got this like Jordan Grace or China. I'm actually the monster of this division if I want to be. I just only want to turn it on. Because early doors with her and Io, it tends to be like an athletic contest. Io Sky will, like, she's one of them low-key, that place wrestlers. She just hides it well. Yeah. She will take insane risks when it counts. So what you get...
She's just not corny with it.
Yeah. So, like, for example, something like she'll go for like a moonsault or a trust fall type thing where it's just, I'm ready to kill myself for this, but Bianca's got a catch in her. And then that's the moment in the match where you're just gasping. What? Like, and that played out over a best of 7 where, again, to use the question a little bit here as well, the stipulation for the last match or maybe the last couple of matches where a ladder or a cage or something is suddenly given to them as we can use that now. So you then avalanche the spots that you've already seen, or you escalate them to the top of a cell or whatever. Like I feel like creatively they would know what works with each other.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this is recency bias because of how well Rhea Ripley slotted in for that WrestleMania 3-way. But you can see it.
Yeah.
Whenever they're working together, you can see how excited they are to be like, can I do this to you?
Yeah.
You sure can.
Sure can.
Let's cool to watch them too.
Okay, let's go. This one, I'm just going to fire over to you, Hamflett, because I was more of an ROH guy who became a New Japan guy. But Sean Murphy asks, watching loads of old TNA, what's the biggest dropped the ball moment and or superstar? And what was the best yet period where you think they might really have something? I'm going to guess 2 months before Hulk Hogan showed up.
Bang right.
Even I was like, Desmond Wolfe and Angle, this is getting raves, I must watch it.
Desmond Wolfe and Kurt Angle was the critically acclaimed series, but it was right around the same time that and this is it, like these names for a period of time meant so much to so many and then ultimately frittered away. Beer Money,
Wrestling,
and the Pope D'Angelo De Niro were two of the most over acts I was ever live in the building for. At like the 2010 January house show. So Hogan was in, but none of the changes had happened yet. And Beer Money as over baby faces were like work rate New Age Outlaws. It was white hot in the building, but then the matches were great. They were this perfect like union. Bobby Roode, bit of a mechanics guy, but always a mechanics guy that I really liked. Bobby Roode was putting it together in a way that I sort of miss at the moment. And with James Storm, who was way more of an outlandish sort of character wrestler, the two of them just hit upon something perfect. And then you would put them in there with this quite diverse range of teams that TNA would like either bring up or sign because it was TNA. And it was like you were never far away from like another Dudley's coming in or a Hardy's or whatever. And then you would have a Motor City Machine Guns for like a work rate version of it. And it just always seemed to work with Beer Money. So you were like, well, this is brilliant, but I understand how tag wrestling goes in North America. When these split, this act has been so successful and popular and over that both of these are going to be world champions. And that came true, but it was ultimately long past their peak and they'd been buried by the Hogan Bischoff administration that they were lucky to even get those title shots. Bobby Roode getting screwed as a babyface and having to turn heel to win the title was the most TNA. The heat. Think of the heat.
Yeah.
Like, well, you
Think of the heat, bro.
You could have just pushed him as the top babyface.
Think of the goddamn heat.
They were obsessed with it. And what could have been if he'd have actually just got the run as the babyface instead still sticks with me now. I remember having to wait like 3 days to watch that on a delay. And it was the UKFF forum at the time where I was like, there was a thread and there was all this excitement around him versus Kurt Angle for the title. And I'd just kept away, internet blackout. And it turns out while I was on my internet blackout, Hulk Hogan had gone on the radio the day of the pay-per-view, said, yeah, I'm not sure Bobby Roode's Rossetti yet, the whole deal. And then sure enough, he loses to an injured Kurt Angle, by the way, in like 9 minutes in the main event of the pay-per-view. And the last shot. You remember Roman Reigns at the Survivor Series 2015?
Yeah. I've seen this image of Bobby Roode.
Bobby Roode having just lost like a 9-minute match. No cash-in, just lost to an injured Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Well, you killed that one. Pope D'Angelo De Niro the same. Just killed him. Just killed it all. So yeah, oddly, 2009, I think Russo was in charge, maybe? TNA was always going to be TNA. But it was the closest it felt to a North American alternative that was also still a bit like WWE anyway.
Because Ring of Honor wasn't doing great in 2009, was it? It was the
Fed
We Are the Robots,
peak.
ROHBOTS era.
The
bit of craft work for that ass.
The Ring of Honor purists had abandoned it by 2009 that I'm aware of. So like 2002 to 2006, Punk, Joe, Danielson, Class, like
Jimmy Rave.
Those fans had long abandoned it and it was like, well, what's this Ring of Honor, this warped thing? 2009 Fed.
Guest host
repugnant era. Raw.
Thank you, CM Punk. I would have stopped watching it.
There was so few guys to invest in. So TNA really had this little window, never to be anything more than a long, long, long distant number 2.
Bit of a draft. Let's slam that shut.
Yeah, at least the one that people enjoyed. In the UK, like they got that for years. Those 10,000 seater venues were used for TV tapings because it was the only place they were ever going to get crowds like that.
Yeah.
They had goodwill over here for years,
Yeah.
and it was just flush.
Flushed it all away.
Hogan and Bischoff.
From Hogan and Bischoff to Hugo, who
Nice.
says, for the life of me, I can never think of a question for a time like this, but I'd very much like to share. I've been a listener for 6 years this month, and my love for the Dudleys grows with each passing day. Just came here to thank you and show my genuine appreciation for everything you do. Hugo!
Thanks, Hugo.
That's lovely, that, isn't it?
That's really nice.
Just wanted to thought it was a lovely message, so I wanted to
Thank
say
you very
it
much,
and say
Hugo.
thank you for that. Hugo!
Hugo.
The next question comes from Crescent Moon Emoji at Tranquillo_LIJ6. Hey, you guys. Hope you're in good spirits. I'm just going to hand over to Hamflett for this one because I've got quite a lot to say about the last two questions. How would you book the next 6 months of Stephanie Vaquer's 2025? Does she hold a mid-card belt until Mania, or does she slow down on her trajectory until it's time to win the Rumble and heat back up? Thanks for all you guys do. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Stephanie Vaquer is a perfect Royal Rumble winner. A perfect Royal Rumble winner. Somebody that has never been to a WrestleMania, somebody that has never held the top title.
So fresh in it.
So fresh, so like unique almost in this era where this spot, this Rumble push used to exist for this very purpose. But the cycle of it now is that wrestlers go up and down the card, they never leave. It's great, they're healthier, they get injured less, but like so many wrestlers have done it and seen it all before, or at least wrestled on the WrestleMania undercard, that like it becomes more and more difficult to create that magic first time everything. Even if you take Rhea Ripley going from 1 and winning the whole thing coast to coast, she was like and she had the match of the night with Charlotte Flair, match of the whole WrestleMania weekend with Charlotte Flair. She was a multi-time WWE champion by the time she'd done that.
Yeah.
This was just they're finally getting her right.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the broken pushes that came before that you have to sort of erase. She'd won the title at a WrestleMania before that, and you were asked to sort of forget about it.
Yeah.
With Stephanie Vaquer, you don't need to. Like, it is that perfect spot that she finds herself in. The question is...
How would you book it?
So the Rumble at WrestleMania, I think, is assured. I think she wins the Royal Rumble from whatever position you like. She's the top babyface, and whoever is the champion should be a heel, and it should be this idea. I would maybe try and shift Julia into that heel champion spot. I don't know how worthy she would be of holding that title, but I would very much like to see them have that
She's
match.
showing a little bit more personality on TV as
And Stephanie
Julia.
Vaquer was bringing a lot of that out of her as well.
Yeah.
So I think them two would be an interesting pairing for a WrestleMania title match, and you could tell the story of Julia getting there first. And it was like, you kind of lapped me in NXT, but it's not happened that way now, has it? And you've got a nice heel baby.
I like that.
So that would be my pairing for the WrestleMania thing. Between here and the Rumble, I would say hold the wheel and trust the fans. Have her win the Battle Royal at Evolution to get a title shot, and have her fall short in a way that actually programs her off with a couple of heels. Like, trust the audience in how much they love this character, that it's okay for her to stumble a little bit. We're not talking Cody Rhodes losing to Roman Reigns here. She can lose a title match because she can fall afoul of, say, for example, she gets a title match, but she's fallen afoul of the Judgment Day. So Roxanne and
Perez,
Raquel have ran in or, disrupted her flow, and she loses the title match, but then she's into something with Roxanne, and she's into something. You could even give her a token tag title run with another babyface, and she feuds with them as tag champions, whatever it is. But the diversion is fine, because at this point you've done such a good job, and so is she, of establishing herself as potentially the guy. Like, it's pretty cool when a wrestler feels undeniable.
Yeah.
And that's where they're at with her. I think she's a hard one to botch at the moment.
Nah, she's pretty much unbotchable. She's just got this universal that it's so hard to unify the wrestling fandom when we spend all day just like screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And everyone just goes, you rule.
Yeah.
You must be really good. And she is absolutely really good. Right. We've got 2 more questions, about 10 more minutes to answer them. And I might need more time. I will try not to take it. They both come from ACL injury at tore my ACL on X. I hope that's not the case. Apparently that's one of those agonizing things you can go through, and it's you'll never walk properly again. I mean, you say that, but Tino Livramento won a League Cup after tearing his ACL. So if you have,
Maybe it's
Livramento can be your inspiration.
maybe it's Livramento asking the questions.
I bloody hope so. Love Tino, man.
Let us know.
What a
It is.
baller. What a baller. I am Sidgwick.
I've heard of him.
I know you hate both guys, but who do you think is better, both overall and at their peaks? And who do you prefer, John Cena or Triple H? Right. In terms of pure mechanics, as a professional wrestler in terms of the structure of the match, how good the physicality looks, how long to sell. Not there's a formula, but to a degree there is. As an individual performer, Triple H clears him.
He'd be raging with the comparison.
He'd be raging
in terms
with
of
the
execution
comparison.
of moves and the like. He'd be raging.
Like, the thing about Triple H is he's completely tedious, totally self-indulgent. He takes the advice from these veterans he was such a mark for way too literally, and he spent too long slowing it down when all around him more acclaimed guys are speeding it up. When Triple H gets it right, and that big-nosed twat never let himself do it because he was cursed with the least amount of self-confidence and self-awareness ever, I would say. Quite amazing wrestler about 14 times over the span of his lifetime. John Cena was very situational, if you notice. Like, Money in the Bank 2011. Yes, he had great chemistry with Punk after the fact. Now you would fight for it. But it all started with that incredible situation he found himself in. His next best match, shortcuts with, Umaga, 2007 Royal Rumble. They both did weirdly well against the Great Khali. Cena a bit better, but in terms of peak, John Cena never had an in-ring year as good and as assured and as distinct as Triple H's 2000, because I think John Cena's 2015 was a bit grabby, a little bit suck-uppy of, I can do hot moves with the Z as well, guys. I'm not the biggest fan of it personally. I hate them both to their core. They are both completely flawed in different ways. But I don't even think a non-thrashed version of John Cena would get it as much as, for example, Triple H flailing and, oh my God, the babyface has put a submission on me. No, this will not do. Like, whisper it. Is that sense of theatrical, broad melodrama better than Shawn? The one thing Triple H has ever been better than Shawn Michaels was that flail of like, oh, I'm going to get beat. Because Shawn would, I'm going to get beat as a babyface. And Triple H, like, you could see the one time he plays with that horrible, toxic ego of his to cathartic effect when he's like, oh, no, this can't happen to Triple H. He's amazing at it. He couldn't
tell himself how good he was at showing ass.
I know.
In lots of different ways.
I
As a
know.
bumper, as a seller, facials. Like, showing ass was one of Triple H's biggest attributes, and it was the thing he hated to do.
What an idiot. I rate him a 4 out of 10.
I would go with Triple H for a lot of the reasons you've said, and because you've caught me in a real dark place with John Cena, but also because I'm much kinder to Cena's work than you are, like, as a legacy wrestler.
Yeah.
However,
some of his stuff, like some of his comebacks are so quick, and I know.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Mechanically. Like, there was a point. Shawn and Triple H effectively bullied John Cena in 2005, 2006 for being so terrible.
Yeah.
But then, like, they're like, and then he got it, man. I'm watching, I was like, did he?
Did he?
Like, how much did he
Or
get
was he
it?
just able to generate drama almost in spite of his...
Well, this is my point, right? I would go with Triple H because fundamentally, Triple H has more about him in like a fixed and functional wrestling system. John Cena thrived in a completely broken system.
He's a good trash talker.
Broke it more and made it almost impossible for the next wrestlers that followed to work within it. Yeah. That's nightmare. Like Roman Reigns, the first half of Roman Reigns' career is defined by what John Cena did to the top guy spot.
Yeah.
And like John Cena suited this. Like John Cena was so much of a wreckage of a guy that and you're seeing it now. He functions way more around chaos than common sense and about how a wrestling show should be booked. Triple H at his best, at very least.
Vince and Cena were just two weird guys, weren't they?
They were two weird guys. Like, what outside of Triple H's 2000, what are the stuff that most people broadly agree was Triple H good at, right? The Batista run. What is the Batista run? It's WWE for a second actually functioning like a wrestling promotion. You know, over a long period of time telling a story. And you're like, hey, you know what, Triple H is all right there. When he's good, it's because he functions within a system that actually makes sense,
Yeah.
as opposed to John Cena, who just like pieces and fragments of garbage flying everywhere, and it's like, well, I'll just take you for a bit then.
Yeah.
2015 run is a perfect example of it. Those matches, as entertaining as a lot of them were, it's like, well, Raw's often hideous, like, and this looks like wrestling for a minute. And John Cena can do whatever the hell he likes, and he's decided with his unbelievable, unprecedented creative license to just watch some tapes and try that. Like, was the springboard stunner ever good? No. But it was like, but he's allowed.
Yeah.
Like, could a wrestler with way more technical ability than John Cena been permitted to do a springboard stunner then? No. So what you're watching is a guy with power just being like, well, I'll just do this then. Like The Rock, it's like The Rock sharpshooter, but even worse.
Yeah, I know.
Because the guy with
I think
stroke
even Austin was like, would you stop doing it, mate?
yeah.
Will you stop
Remember that?
doing
Like, yeah, at least cinch it in a bit, kid.
Yeah.
Like, just trying to, you do that for me?
Yeah.
I don't think I will.
No. Got one last question.
Can we end the pod on the cameo corner because it's an AEW one?
Yes. I mean, it's my time. I'm eating into
That's fine.
here.
That's fine.
Again, ACL injury. Tino Livramento says, peak for peak, who's better, Seth or Triple H? Triple H. I think I would, if I was to go back, I want to answer this as quickly as possible. If I was to go back and watch any match, I had to pick, you've got one match out of these two for the rest of your life. This is the peak. Would it be Seth Rollins versus John Cena at SummerSlam 2015, or would it be Triple H versus Cactus Jack at 2000 Royal Rumble? It would be Triple H versus Cactus Jack at Royal Rumble, because that is timeless, stands on its own. It's got that primal violence, that brawl, that pacing, that star creating, just that feel of ascension, big-time drama, violence. So much goes into how much of a WWE masterpiece, in my opinion, that match is. The best stuff Seth Rollins has ever done outside of the Shield, and you can't really, it's a singles wrestler question, is a style I've seen done by at least 10 other wrestlers much better. So sorry, Seth, but I can't believe I'm saying it, but I think even worse than Triple H, pal.
I think there's good like-for-like arguments about them both having like one kind of amazing WWE calendar year as a singles wrestler.
2015 and 2000.
And if you're asking me to pick between the years, I'm picking Triple H in 2000.
Yeah.
The body of work is just stronger.
And those other peaks.
It's just stronger.
Imagine this version of Seth doing with, I don't know, who's a little geek?
What, in the main roster right now?
Yeah.
I can't think of one.
Could
Carmelo Hayes.
Basically, what Triple H did with Taka.
Oh, right.
Seth
Like way down the pecking order.
Seth couldn't do with knee one.
No.
Couldn't do it. He doesn't have that aura, that star power of that wrestler going against me, the great Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
No.
Doesn't work. 'Cause he's not a top guy. Conclusive.
We're going to end with AEW from Cameo Corner because Travis.
Everybody say I'm gonna reel in to show you in an answering way.
That's good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
Name are the Dudleys, and we're here to say. Travis Ulrich, who is off X and is thus in my Cameo DMs with a question. Now, to be fair to him, this was from last week, and Dynamite has since switched this up a little bit. But it is a question I guess we can talk about beyond All In. Should Tony Khan pull the trigger on having the men's casino gauntlet end before the third man enters All In? Which obviously now with it being MJF and Mark Briscoe, probably not. And then he said, if so, what's the standard match as a make good to the fans, Mystico versus MJF, Mask versus Hair? So we moved a little bit past that. But I think it's an interesting question. Maybe we can tweak it slightly from Travis's point. How would they do it, and when could you tweak this casino gauntlet to have that exact? Because I think they definitely should do it.
Here's the thing, right? I disagree. It's one of those where I can have a grunt about it. If they didn't establish these qualifiers and putting the emphasis on how important the 1 and 2 slots are when they're not, these matches only serve to underscore that it's just an unnecessary contrivance to try and make it just to buy some TV time at the end of the day. If basically MJF and Briscoe we're going to come head to head in this match at some point, and you just wave away the qualifiers. Isn't cool as they were on their own terms. I love the second one. And they just happened to be, I don't know, 1 and 2 or 1 and 3, and they just interacted soon, and they were the thread of the match. It would be like, all right, okay, well, isn't it convenient that they picked out in this imaginary tumbler 1 and 3?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't care less on the night. I would say that they shouldn't establish it. They could really do a sprint one, but I'd still put 8 guys in there. Like a 10-minute sprint of a one, right? And go, oh, just to establish for the next one, oh God, it could end sooner. I wouldn't do a gimmicky, it's a 3-way that's just finished.
Yeah.
I think that is too far in the other direction. I think that's an overcorrect. And the example I'm going to cite is why I wouldn't do that and how much these little things, even though I'm more pedantic than most, don't actually matter that much, is early on, AEW was going for the proper, every single second of the broadcast matters, sports-oriented feel. Yes, I know the Dark Order and the Nightmare Collective existed, but bear with me. They had Moxley and Pac go to TV time remaining of like, and now they just don't do it. There's no point really. It's like, it's just a fraction of realism that is kind of undermined elsewhere by the contrivances of pro wrestling and like the wacky characters who can inhabit the world. Like, it was a nice thing of, oh, well, it's realistic. This can sometimes happen in sport, like an unsatisfactory tie.
Yeah.
Do you need to do that?
American sports are trying to avoid that for that very reason.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And another example of, oh, you must watch every second, or, well, it must be believable because this happened. Orange Cassidy beat Jack Evans in picture-in-picture.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad that they've established that that could happen. Have you ever thought, when watching AEW, picture-in-picture when you fly to America to watch it?
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever thought, or you know, American, Canadian friends or whatever who watch it in picture-in-picture? Because I watch it on Triller Fight TV, where you just see the matches unfold in the commercial breaks. Do you ever sit in front of the TV and go, I must pay attention? Shut up, honey. Be quiet, honey. I'm sorry, honey. Hey, pipe down up there, asshole. I'm sorry. I've been under a lot of stress at work. Do you ever just like look at the telly intently in 2025 going, no, it's a commercial, honey. Be quiet. Orange Cassidy beat Jack Evans 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, as a matter of fact. And picture-in-picture, I'm watching. I'm still watching. No one does that.
I mean, that was picture-in-picture, because you painted quite a one there.
Thank you. But no one does that. Even though the precedent has been established, because they did it once.
You are not speaking for fans of the Heritage Cups, in which there are several decisions that take place.
I just think it's a contrivance that is always going to exist.
It's a shame, really, isn't it? Because once something becomes a one-off, it stops being the proof of the concept, because it was like, it happened that one time. It wasn't. This can always happen. It happened once.
I don't think this would be an issue, particularly when AEW matches are so competitive and long to begin with, that it would stand to reason why this match would go to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 people in it. Like, it's not as if there's many sprints to AEW's detriment. I just think this is only really a conversation because of these daft qualifiers that they do.
I think there was a cute story that didn't get told with Evil Uno last year that you could do a far superior version of if you were to do like 2 people out or 3 people out, and then it ends as the 4th person is walking down the ring, and depending on that 4th person, let's say this was a number 1 contenders match for the world title on the biggest stage, blah, 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 and we're a little bit removed from the Hurt Syndicate, and Bobby Lashley is literally walking at the ring and the pin happens, and what?
Yeah.
Like, I think there is such narrative potential for like the kind of weird, very, very Tony Khan quirk of this match. Like, there's no timers, there's no rules. It's just like, another.
When
like,
there's a massive debuting star or returning star, they get like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And then entrant 6 comes out. Oh, you've been in there, what, 20 seconds? Another one.
Like, the fact that there's such a random element to this really does allow kind of you just to do it however you want to do it. And I'd love the idea of somebody walking at the ring and seeing the pinfall happen and go, what? And that informing something. It reminds me a little bit of the thing we loved of the ranking division tag eliminator and how it teases a match, but you don't get it with FTR.
Yeah.
And like the Hangman Page falling one short with Brian Cage is
Yeah.
almost a throwback to how you can be like, no, this thing that has just happened in front of me has enormous ramifications now because I wanted that title shot. And here was me thinking, 4th, I'm going to mop up here.
Yeah.
And then it's just happened.
I just think it would be very a cute idea, anticlimactic in execution. That was my thoughts on it. But what are your thoughts on the questions we've asked today? Let us know in the comment section below or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Whilst you're there, you can follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me at Sidgwick. Do so if you want to get questions in for future editions of this broadcast, this telecast. And thank you very much for joining us today. And if you're thinking, God, that was a really good, insightful analysis of how good is AJ Styles really, but I prefer more crisps and, I don't know, the Brit-ass Empire out of my podcast, some self-indulgent tripe. Why don't you listen to the SmackDown preview recorded by Michael Hamflett and Adam Wilborn, because that should be in your feeds right about now as well. We'll have more stuff dropping over the weekend, but then your weekly reviews will resume next week. So like and subscribe to YouTube for that, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from on audio feeds as well for daily wrestling podcasts. I jest with a good buddy, one of my best buddies at this point. But thank you very much, Michael Hamflett, for joining us. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.
Best buddies, jest buddies.